Les queremos decir, ¿verdad? Ahora vamos a tener varias personas hablando y vamos a tener la oportunidad de que la prensa escuche la voz del pueblo, que es lo más importante. Entonces vamos a tener a varias personas hablando, va a estar Dolores Huerta, va a estar líderes de sindicatos y también van a estar la voz de la comunidad, que es la voz más importante que queremos realzar. El sábado tenemos una marcha en Fresno. Si no tienen esa información, aquí la tenemos para que nos acompañen el sábado. Les pedimos de favor que por favor mantengan sus máscaras puestas si no están hablando. Tenemos aquí wipes para limpiar todo y sanitar, pero por favor hay que mantener las máscaras puestas, ¿ok? Okay, and to kick us off, I'm going to ask for Laurie Passante to come up. And Laurie is our Civic Engagement Director and super knowledgeable about this process as much as anybody can be with this complicated process, right? Thank you, Laurie.
Thank you, Fabiola, and thank you everybody for being here today. My name is Laurie Passante, and I am the Director of Civic Engagement and Government Relations for the Dolores Huerta Foundation. About a year ago, we started working to educate community members about redistricting. This is a constitutionally mandated process that requires elected leaders to use new census data to fairly allocate political power across districts. But on November 16th, 4 Kern County Board of Supervisors failed to uphold their sworn constitutional duty. Despite months and months of authentic community input from one of the most diverse coalitions of residents and organizations Kern has ever seen, these 4 supervisors adopted a map that serves themselves far more than it will ever serve Kern communities. These 4 supervisors spent thousands and thousands of taxpayer dollars on a law firm that specializes in protecting incumbents in the redistricting process, and they adopted an incumbent protection map. Today we say no more. You will hear from members of the Kern County Equitable Map Coalition as we invite everyone who cares about a healthy democracy to join us this Saturday in Fresno, beginning at Arte Americas at 11 a.m. to march with us for our future. We also ask that people participate in local redistricting processes still happening now in school boards, the city, special districts, and at the state level. We must hold elected leaders accountable and demand fair maps. If you would like to get involved, please contact Dolores Huerta Foundation at www.doloreshuerta.org and feel free to call 661-558-2041 to learn more. And with that, I will pass it over to our first speaker, Mr. Ignacio Morales, SEIU 521.
My name is Ignacio Morales. I am a resident of Wasco, a member of the SEIU 521, and a senior code enforcement officer for the city of Bakersfield. Also, a former city council member of the city of McFarland. As a youth, I saw and became aware of the struggle for fairness by marching alongside Cesar Chavez and many farm workers during the 70s. As of today's struggle, fair maps means fair treatment of workers. I see every day what it can mean for the community when workers are treated fairly. As a resident of Wasco, I see how rural communities are not prioritized when it comes to funding and other opportunities, which are reflected by our current maps. The map adopted by the Kern County Board of Supervisors is not a fair map. The organizations and residents speaking here today are part of a broad coalition of Kern residents who made it very clear in hours and hours of public speaking input that putting rural farmer communities along with affluent urban community districts continue to be outvoted. And this is not fair. they were ignored. We are here today to demand fair maps in all levels of government. For cities, school districts, and special districts still going through this process, we still have the opportunity to get this right. Involve your community members. Follow the best practice outlined in the California Fair Maps Act. In conclusion, draw fair maps that truly represent the community. Now I'll hand it over to Anaí.
Good morning, everybody. Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here. My name is Rosanna Flores. I hope you can hear me. Thank you. Mic check. All right. My pronouns are she, her, ella. I am a youth organizer with Loud for Tomorrow, a youth organization in Delano. Actually, the second biggest city in Kern County. Ironically, we don't have a board of supervisors for our own. So as I said, I'm coming from Delano. I drove 45 minutes here, y'all. How can Delano's current supervisor tell us that he understands the livelihoods of communities there? David Couch is Delano's supervisor, a white man representing a community of people of color, which the majority are of immigrant families. I also work with youth of color. For the past 3 years of our existence, not once have we heard David Couch visit our neighborhoods or even show concern for our realities, which is really, really concerning because he doesn't even live there, and should at least try to, understand what we're living through, what our neighborhoods are like, and the differences from Delano and Bakersfield. If he understood our communities, he would clearly not map neighborhoods like Belmont Street or Dover Place in Delano with Seven Oaks in Bakersfield, because the differences in these communities are as clear as water. Not our water, because our water is polluted, but it's clear from the gaps in schools to paved roads. Lastly, y'all, the norms will not bring different results. We deserve fair and equitable maps, because it is unfair that the people with the least resources stay marginalized, because the Kern County Board of Supervisors doesn't want to accept the challenge in garnering votes to stay in their same seat another 10 years. It seems like the Board of Supervisors is afraid of the word equity, because the most equitable maps were put on the table and completely trashed. The many, many comments from people in the Kern County mountains to us, in Delano, were heard and were not listened to clearly. Sorry, lastly, I want to give a shout out to all the organizers, community members who spent hours and hours talking with community members. I was really surprised or really disheartened to hear some community members surprised that people were actually inquiring about their input. They had never even spoke to a board of supervisors. A lot of folks, it was their first time that their voice was being heard, which is really concerning because these board of supervisors have been there for years and years and are seeking to be there again. So lastly, please come out to the march on Saturday. We're marching for our lives. We're marching for maps that represent the community, that represent marginalized communities, people of color. We need change, and change needs to happen now. Lastly, I want to hand it over to Tammy. Thank you. Tammy, where you at?
Hello everybody, my name is Tammy Taylor, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. Came a long way. Came from Northern California down here to Southern California to California City. And been in California City for the last 5 years. And I can tell you guys about my struggles. My struggles began with education. I have 2 beautiful boys. And when I saw the struggles within the Mojave Unified School District, and the delay and the disparities with the children and how they teach them, I became very concerned about that. So what I learned was this: I need to fight, not just for my children, but for all the children in Mojave Unified School District. And what I learned was we have 39% of enrolled African American students, 37% of them are failing. If that's not a wake-up call to the Fair Coalition map, we need to do something about it. I also like to let you guys know how I began about the redistricting process. This process was delivered to me through a Zoom through Dolores Huerta Foundation. In my whole general life, I've never even heard of anything about redistricting. What surprised me the most is that I knew and I found out that I have a voice. There's a reason why I live in California City. We don't have resources. Our library is closed. Now Parks and Recreation is closed. And now, we don't have there's no hospitals, there's nothing. So learning about the redistricting process really helped me out very much so, and I wanted to become involved. When I joined the commission and went to one of their meetings, what I learned was they tried everything in their power to block me from speaking about the Fair Coalition map. I wasn't able to speak on one of the meetings. That really bothered me very much so, because living in Cal City with no grocery stores, no libraries, no hospitals, nothing, it really caused a concern for me. Just being involved and knowing about California City and the high deserts, just being able to go ahead and speak and tell everyone, that I support the coalition map gives my children, all the children in California City, and a revision of our board to open up their eyes and realize that our kids cannot be feeling like this, our community cannot be feeling like this. We need some support and resources. And just going out to the march and just supporting the coalition map will also open up the community members, the vecinos, and just open up everyone to see that their voice does count. We cannot no longer live outside of a district or outside an area where all the monies go to supporting the rich areas. We are included in that monies as well. I would like to ride down the road without putting my car in a shop, the repair shop, for a bad alignment because of the rocky roads. I don't like driving down feeling like I'm going through a turbulence on the road. I like to roll down a smooth street and also open up and go through a community where I know that I will be able to go to a nice grocery store that serves fresh foods. And that's very important to me, as long as education. I thank everyone, and I would like to introduce the wonderful Jesus Garcia, the man responsible for this wonderful map.
Good morning, everybody. It's a wonderful day. My name is Jesus Garcia, and I am the author of a lot of the maps that are here. It takes technology. It takes high level of technology. It takes some level of skill to draw these maps. And I do possess some of those skills, but I didn't draw the maps myself. The maps were drawn from the community, from the voices of the community that were heard, not only here. I know we may be talking about the Kern County Board of Supervisors, but it's voices all the way to Merced, to Mojave, down Antelope Valley, the voices of literally hundreds and hundreds of people that demand the change occur. In the past, tools, consultants, enablers have been able to deny these truths, deny equitable access, deny maps. That's no longer the case. The veil has been lifted. The data is here, and it tells you that change is required. It's mandated, and we demand it, and we're beginning to have effect. We're having an impact in counties throughout the valley. Kudos to the Tulare County Board of Supervisors. We don't like their maps, but they have adopted our policies. Kudos to the State Redistricting Commission. They're still working on maps, but they're beginning to adopt our policies. And by our policies, I mean the policies of the people that are here, the residents of Kern County, the residents of California that demand equitable maps, that demand change. Change is coming, and I look forward to all of the wonderful things that come from it. At this point, I'd like to introduce Elvira, a vecinos person. Elvira?
Gracias. Hola, buenas tardes. Buenos días. Mi nombre es Elvira Mendez y soy vecina de la Fundación Dolores Huerta y estoy muy orgullosa de ser una de las líderes comunitarias parada aquí con otros miembros para exigir mapas justos para nuestro condado, nuestra ciudad y nuestras escuelas. Como muchas personas en nuestra comunidad, estoy profundamente preocupada por el futuro de nuestro condado y por la representación equitativa en mi comunidad. Lo que nuestra comunidad pide es sencillo. Exigimos mapas justos, representación justa y leyes justas. Gracias.
Y le voy a traducir para que la prensa escuche lo que usted dijo. Me deja I'm going to go ahead and translate what Elvira shared. She said, "Good morning, my name is Elvira Mendez. I am a vecina with the Dolores Huerta Foundation here in Bakersfield. And I'm proud to be one of the community leaders standing here with other community members, demanding just maps, fair maps for our county, for our city, and for our schools." She also said, "Like many people in our community, I am extremely worried about the future of our county and about the equitable representation of my community." And then finally, she shared, "What we're asking is simple. We're demanding fair maps, fair representation, and fair laws." Thank you so much, Elvira. Muchísimas gracias.
Quiero presentarles a la próxima representante, que es Laquisha. Laquisha. Sí, gracias.
Good morning. I'm Laquisha with all of us or none.
Let us hear you, Laquisha. Let's hear your voice.
We're a civil and human rights organization fighting for the rights of those impacted by incarceration. Our request is simple. We demand fair maps, fair representation, and fair laws. Fairness is something we need to be equal. Fairness is what we want and deserve in Kern County. It is clear from the problems we face that we do not have effective representation. Our policing problems are so bad that the state has had to intervene in both the Kern County Sheriff and Bakersfield Police Department. People of color are vast majority in Kern County and the city of Bakersfield, yet the board of elected leaders are almost all white. This is not fair representation. We own the seats, not them. And now I'd like to introduce you to Viviana.
Hello everyone and good morning. I would like to thank the Dolores Huerta Foundation for hosting this important press conference and for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Vivian Anfosso and I am an IHSS home care provider here in Kern County, and I'm also a proud member of our union, United Domestic Workers, Local 3930. Like the rest of IHSS workers in Kern County, I work for seniors and people with disabilities in our communities. Many of them cannot be here today, but have asked me to speak on their behalf. We are also part of this community, just like everyone else, and we demand to be heard. It is imperative that we work on keeping our neighborhoods together, uniting our communities, and most importantly, that the public is meaningfully engaged and has an opportunity to influence the maps and line drawing in a public manner. We are here today advocating for greater transparency and fairness in the process. Just like our union, our communities are made up of a rich diversity of constituents. However, most of the current elected officials that represent us are not reflective of the community that they represent. Having our voice and participation in the redistricting process can help ensure that the redistricting plans adopted by jurisdictions in the Central Valley do not harm our community. The redistricting process, as required by the law, is one that should result in equitable representation and include community input and consider communities of interest. The current draft maps too many pages. The current draft maps at all levels, locally and statewide, do not meet the correct metrics. And we fear that the creation of these districts will completely disenfranchise our Latino populations and other communities of color for the next 10 years. UDW, in solidarity with our partners here today, demand that counties in our region adhere to the redistricting process and adopt equitable maps which are supported by the community member input. We're urging officials to respect and acknowledge the new data for each district and stop their efforts to silence the voices of communities of color. For one, don't draw lines that set out to harm voters based on their race or ethnicity. Number two, where discrimination plays or has played a significant role, and where voting is substantially polarized along racial or ethnic lines, please look at electoral patterns and decide whether minorities already have proportionated electoral power. If not, the Voting Rights Act might require a change to the lines to give a compact and sizable minority community equitable electoral opportunity they do not currently enjoy. And number three, when considering race in drawing districts, whether to satisfy the Voting Rights Act or otherwise, consider other factors in the mix as well. We want fair representation and not status quo, because honestly, we deserve better. Thank you. And it's my honor to introduce Melda.
My name is Belén Delgado, and I'm here with the Dolores Huerta Foundation. I am the Education Program Associate, and for the past couple of years, I've had the opportunity to work with my fellow peers, families, and community members within the education justice space to advocate for more adequate support systems and programs for our students and parents in the Central Valley. Today, we are gathered to discuss the importance of redistricting. Redistricting occurs once every 10 years, usually after the census is collected. I remember the first time I participated in the census back in 2010. I had no idea the importance of the information being collected and what it would be used for at 8 years old. However, now there are school districts who are currently going through their own version of redistricting and deciding how to redesign their maps according to the growing student population. The next 10 years of education decisions demand fair maps. These school board districts do not belong to any one individual. Rather, they belong to our families and to us as a community. I myself am a native to Kern County, and growing up bouncing between a predominantly low-income school district and a more affluent school district, I soon became aware of the inequities and lack of care we were given as students within the low-income school district. The scarcity of resources and programs for students negatively impact their academic growth expectations, thus creating more barriers for these students. Consequently, inadequate academic and mental health supports sets our students to not succeed to their fullest potential. As a student, I felt neglected and invisible to all the adults I interacted with at each school. But now that we have the opportunity to take action, we can now foster and create an environment where students do not have to endure my same struggles. I am where I am because of my lived experience and hard work. I've had to do so with little support in the education system, but today's 8-year-old should have elected representatives that care about their future and are willing to represent them and provide adequate resources so that they do not have to fight for the bare minimum. They should instead be uplifted by their educators, their families, and the community so that they can be given the opportunity to thrive after they leave the K-12 school system. I call on my fellow youth and other community members today to be more involved and to voice their opinion in the redistricting process, because their future is being decided for them by those that don't know their needs or simply choose to ignore them. I hope to see you at our March for Our Future in Fresno. Tell your parents, aunts, uncles, and especially your friends to join us in our movement for equitable maps. And for those who can't participate, we hope you can do your part by providing public comment to the Board of Supervisors, school districts, and City Council. Thank you so much for your time. And I'd now like to present I'd like to present our president and founder.
Imelda.
Oh, Imelda? Okay, I'm sorry. Then I'd like to present Imelda.
Good morning. My name is Melda Buckwitz. I am with the Kern Mono County Central Labor Council, a proud member of the Kern County Equitable MATS Coalition. I really do hope that the Board of Supervisors are listening right now, loud and clear. This is not about their careers, this is about our communities. As a member-driven association, the Kern Mono counties, we represent over 30 affiliated unions. We represent Kern County workers from all sectors and industries. We represent approximately 35,000 members that are affiliated with the Kern Mono counties. We are here to ask the supervisors to consider their vote on the Kern County Supervisors map and ask that a vote on maps that reflect the needs of the communities in Kern County. I know firsthand, I work for the county, we represent all of Kern County, and I can tell you there's lack of services everywhere. All the services tend to be here in Bakersfield. That's unacceptable. We need supervisors to represent all of the county, to represent their communities of interest. Too many communities in Kern lack access to critical resources, as you heard from other community members, like healthcare. Boron doesn't even have a medical clinic. Those people in the Eastern Kern have to travel to LA, Lancaster to receive medical services. Emergency services, fire department, they're slow at acting because they have no services. Safe drinking water, it's a huge problem. Transportation, people can't get to their appointments. They can't get to the supermarket. They lack resources. This is, again, very unacceptable. Having fair maps that give communities true representation on the Board of Supervisors will have a profound impact in solving these issues. They need to adopt the equitable maps that we are presenting. The status quo maps are not acceptable. As we continue to grow and as we tackle the challenges of current workers face day to day, in and out, this is an everyday thing. This has to stop. We again urge Kern County supervisors to reconsider their decision and vote on truly fair and equitable maps for Kern County. We're not asking much. We are asking for our communities. Again, they need to step up to the plate, put their political interests aside, and do the right thing for our community. Thank you so much. And with that, I have the honor of presenting Dolores Huerta of the Dolores Huerta Foundation. It is my very honor to represent Dolores Huerta.
Thank you very much, Imelda. I want to thank all of the people that are here, all of you that have voted, that have been working so hard to create these fair maps that have been presented to the Board of Supervisors, because we know that, and I want to thank the press also for showing up today. These decisions are so important because we know they are going to impact us for the next 10 years. And we know that the Board of Supervisors has consistently, as you have heard, ignored our communities of color. The census that we all worked on showed that people of color are now the majority of the people of the population here in Kern County. Yet the actions of the Board of Supervisors continue to ignore our communities. When we look at the status of COVID-19, Kern County, one of the least vaccinated places, one of the places that has the highest infections in the state of California. When we see that the county workers have not been given a wage increase for many, many years, they are the ones that people depend on to be able to take care of them. And we know that the Board of Supervisors is willing to spend taxpayer dollars to defend their maps, and that, of course, they're going to lose in the long run because it's not coming out of their pockets. It's coming out of the taxpayers' dollars. So we know that this could not continue. we are gathered here today, and we're going to invite people. We're going to be doing a march in Fresno on Saturday, starting at Arte Americas at 11 o'clock, and we want everybody to join us so that we can get the message across to the Board of Supervisors in Kern and Fresno County that they cannot continue like this. We do not want these men to continue to hold their power. This is all about power for them. They completely have shown by all of their actions that they really don't care about the people in Kern County. The voice is very loud and clear. Many hundreds of phone calls, hundreds of testimonies, hundreds of surveys that have been gathered. We have all of the evidence why we need to change the maps of the Board of Supervisors here in Kern and in Fresno County. And this is why we're gathered here to do it. And we want to thank all of you for being here. And we're going to keep on working to keep the pressure on the board so that they can adopt our maps, which are much fairer than theirs. So thank you very much. And now we can take questions to any of the folks that have spoken here. So we invite the press to please interview as many people as you like. And thank you very much for being here.